Good evening, Wilmington. Welcome to the Education, Youth, and Families Committee. I'm your chair, Yolanda McCoy, and I would like to call a roll call for the rest of the members who are here. Vice Chair Linda Gray,
Present.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Fields asked to be excused, Councilman Oliver, Councilman Mills,
Present.
President Congo. Okay. All right, thank you. So now we will like to call this meeting to order. As I stated, this is the Education, Youth, and Families meeting, and today is Wednesday, October 12th. It is 5 p.m. I am the 6th District Councilperson. I am the chair, and at this time, I already did all of that. Finally give me a piece of paper, and I went it backwards on my own. So I'm just very happy to be back here today. We actually we omitted the meeting last month, but we actually have a lot to present this month. We have 3 presentations, as a matter of fact. The very first person on the agenda, we have a presentation by Charlotte Miller Lacey from I Am My Sister's Keepers. Ms. Lacey, would you like to present? You may come to the podium, or you can have a seat, since it's more than just yourself.
You want to have a seat? Or
Okay.
do you have our PowerPoint? Or?
Yes, and if you wouldn't mind, once you come to the podium, to please state your name.
Okay. My name is Charlotte Miller Lacey, and I am the founder and National Executive Director for I Am My Sister's Keeper.
I am Melissa Richmond, and I'm Secretary of the Board for I Am My Sister's Keeper.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
You can start with your presentation.
So, I Am My Sister's Keeper. Responsible, resilient, and respectful. So I Am My Sister's Keeper is a mentoring program for young girls. We actually started in 2016 right here in Wilmington, Delaware in the 6th District. And we are now in our 7th year. So we are always excited when it's time to come to council to talk about I Am My Sister's Keeper, because we appreciate all of the support that has come from City Council and the City of Wilmington as a whole. I Am My Sister's Keeper has several programs. As I said, we started right here in the 6th District of Wilmington, Delaware, and now we have grown. We have several chapters. We have a chapter, which was our first chapter, in Chester, PA, and we always say this is the tale of 2 cities, because Chester and Wilmington almost are similar in cities. So we were excited when Chester came on. We now have a chapter in Dover, Delaware. We also have a chapter that's in Atlanta. And we're moving. We're moving back and forth to establish other chapters in other cities. We have several requests for chapters, so we are excited about that. And even more, again, when I say it started right here in Wilmington, Delaware. I Am My Sister's Keeper was actually started in alternative placement, Parkway Academy. Parkway Academy is where I worked as Director of Student Services. I saw a need for young girls because they were coming back and forth to our program after they were out of the program. And then I was like, well, what can we do to help these young girls? We established I Am My Sister's Keeper. What I did, I reached out to several women and I said, I need you to come as your authentic self. Because sometimes young girls and women, and they look at us and they're like, well, they have it all together. And we don't. We're still evolving and we're still coming into who we are. And I thought the girls needed to see that. I was raised by a village of women, so I was able to impart with them that sisterhood. And out of that came I Am My Sister's Keeper. We had an original one tea party with 8 people. 8 young girls and about 15 women. It has now grown to over 300 or more that attend our tea party. And we've been honored to have city council, some of the women from city council also attend that tea party. Right now, we have several programs. I'm going to let Melissa tell you about the one because she runs that one.
All right, that'll be the next slide, I think.
Wait just a
I don't know what happened to the slide presentation. That's the little girls, the 6 to 11 years old. We implement a self-confidence and team building curriculum, as well as using the STEAM initiative, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. To start these little girls off on the right foot and get a love of
The science.
the sciences, yeah. Get a love of the sciences early on, that'll carry them through.
Our next program, which would be for girls for 12 to 14, and they're called our Future Change Makers. And as you see, future change makers, again, are thinking about themselves, like, you know, who am I? Who am I? How do I get to know the person that I'm supposed to be as I grow up and become an adult? So we help them through that labyrinth as well. Our next group are girls 15 to 18, which are our dream chasers. By this time, our girls in the program have started to identify some characteristics, some traits, some things that they like, jobs or whatever, and then we're taking them out to expose them to other opportunities that are out. So one of the biggest things with I Am My Sister's Keeper is building relationships, exposure, and opportunity. And that's what we bring to our girls. One of the great things about I Am My Sister's Keeper is that now we, in our 7th year, we have girls who have graduated out of the program. So now we have MSK Next Chapter. These are our girls who are 18 to 24. They're in various colleges around the different states, and they continue to stay a part of I Am My Sister's Keeper. We have a partnership with one of the professors at Dell State, and she acts as their advisor. Because, you know, sometimes when you start college, you don't know, things are happening, you need somebody to talk to. She's right there to help them. Doesn't matter what college they're attending or what they're doing. They can pick up a telephone, they can call her. Her name is Dr. Anthea Akins. And it's like, what do I do with this? You know, how do I do that? And she's right there. So she continues to follow our girls who have graduated to help them through that process of college. Then we have some girls who are going in careers. So we have Jackie Benson, who is a part of our board. So she helps with career exploration, but not with our girls. So we have some mothers that are out there and okay, how do I do a budget? How do I do this? How do I do that? They still have a connection with I Am My Sister's Keeper, and they continue to come back. Some of the other greatest things, they come back to volunteer to the young ladies who are in the program. Someone said, how do you measure success? I measure success by the girls who are coming back to give back, because they're saying, I Am My Sister's Keeper was there for me, and I know now I have to be there for my sisters.
That is actually wonderful. You just took that pause, and I do want to make certain that I state that our President Congo is here, and also Councilwoman Harley is present as well.
Okay. So as I said, we're now in our 7th year. I Am My Sister's Keeper has an opportunity now to impact a full community. We have at our disposal, I can say now, we have acquired our own building, a building that we can put our name on, a building that we can make a beacon in the community, and that building will be the MSK Community Center. We're looking to open that building for the community. Of course, I Am My Sister's Keeper was a girls program, but it will continue to
Introducing
be a
the
program
MSK Community Center. Just like Wilmington, it's a place to be somebody.
That went too fast. I don't know what happened to it. But anyway, it's like I said, just like Wilmington, MSK Community Center will be a place to be someone. We're looking to open this community center to house youth, also seniors to come in, for them to feel comfortable and have something that they feel that they can walk into and call home and feel like people care about them. And that's what we're looking to do in MSK Community Center. So we are excited about that. We hope you partner with us. Come over and take a look. If you go to 1009 Sycamore Street, you won't miss us because you'll see the pink doors. And you will know. 1009 Sycamore Street. Like I said, you won't miss us because you'll see the pink doors there and you'll know that's I Am My Sister's Keeper, but it's open to everyone. One of the things that really struck me when we acquired this building, some of the young men that were in there, and they were like, Miss Lacey, I know this is a girls' program and I know you guys are coming in, but what's going to happen to us? This is our home. And I was like, baby, you don't have to worry about that. This is going to continue to be your home. It's just going to be a better home. We're going to have more resources and opportunities for you in this home. And that's what we're looking to do. I Am My Sister's Keeper is consistent in what we do. And when we say we are committed to be the change that we want to see in our community, we mean it.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
So I didn't know whether or not you were finished your presentation.
We are.
Okay.
We are.
Thank you very much for that presentation. You actually gave me a breakdown that I was not aware of, the different age groups and what the what those ages were called. So I'm like, yeah, you guys are doing a lot over there. And even without the actual center, the center is a new acquirement.
Yes.
You've done quite a bit in these 6 years. Didn't know whether or not any of my colleagues had any questions. Okay.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gregg?
Thank you. I'm just curious, what do you do to help build self-esteem with the girls?
So some of the things we do a lot of affirmations, and we do a lot of role playing with the girls, especially our younger girls. And then our big girls, they kind of see those type of things that are going on. And it's amazing when you start saying, well, you are beautiful. You know, you are smart, or you can do this. You can start seeing the change that's in a person.
So it's mostly through conversation.
It is.
And
It's a lot of conversation with I Am My Sister's Keeper as well.
We also do several projects to reinforce that. You know, I can't get specific with them. There's so many, but you know, we pull a lot of art in with that, so they have a lot of self-expression.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know whether or not anyone else had anything. Question? Oh yeah, Councilman Mills.
Yes. Good evening, and thank you guys both for your presentation. I'm definitely familiar with your work from Parkway, been there thousands of times. Is there, in reference to the teenagers and that alternative population, do they have a role in My Sister's Keeper as well, that population?
So yes, I Am My Sister, again, started in alternative placement.
Yes.
The girls who were going back to their comprehensive school started talking to their friends. And they were like, well, it's not just for us because we were in alternative placement, it's for all girls. So we've had girls through all of the school districts within Newcastle County. So it is definitely open. I still have a rapport with Parkway Academy, even though I'm retired. And Parkway Academy, Pathways of Delaware, still sponsors I Am My Sister's Keeper. So we definitely have a connection.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I didn't know whether or not we had anyone that was in the public or on Zoom, maybe any of my council members on Zoom that had any questions or a statement. Okay. I guess not. All right, so I just wanted to put my little 2 cents in. I learned about Ms. Lacey pretty much soon as I got into the council seat in 6th District. She was already running the MLK cleanup day, I Am My Sister's Keepers, everything was happening over there in that small school in the cafeteria. So to see, even though, you know, she has retired from her previous position with Parkway Academy, she has never let go what was going on with those young people in the community and the young women that she was already mentoring. So it is actually, it's grown, it has expanded more than just my area or whichever area Parkway touched, but many more young ladies throughout the city. So I am just, I'm pleased that the 1009 Sycamore Street is actually in the 6th District. I feel like it's full circle. It came back. I'm so excited to see what will become of the center, and we have really been looking at how people are cheering her on and really want to make certain that this happens, and this happens correctly for MSK. So I'm very pleased at the progress that has been made. I know you're going to continue moving forward, and if anyone wants to reach out to her, I do know that they actually had their contact information at the very end of their slide. Was that? Yes, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up, thank you.
Yes.
So that was just to give you a little bit more, just to go to the website, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, just so you can get a little bit more information about MSK, what they stand for, and what they're doing now. So I thank you so much for bringing your presentation forth. If there are no other questions.
I just want to thank you for all your support. It doesn't matter when I call you or, what time, or I'm texting or whatnot. She will get back to me, and I truly appreciate that and all your support. Thank you. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Okay. So our next presentation is Mr. Devin Fletcher from Imperial Dynasty.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good, thank you. My name is Devin Fletcher. I am the Director of Imperial Dynasty Arts Program here in Wilmington, Delaware. The mission of my program is, the mission of Imperial Dynasty is to provide music and dance programs to disadvantaged youth while developing their life skills and self-esteem. We're focused on color guard, drumline, and marching winds instruments. We provide youth ages 6 to 21 with the opportunity to compete at the national and international levels. Founded in 2003, ID, we serve young people in poor communities where access to music and dance programs is limited. In Wilmington, Delaware, our primary service area, fewer schools are having indoor programs, which allows us to fill that gap and provide this opportunity for students that wouldn't be able to have that opportunity. Our goal is to prevent juvenile crimes and gang activity by providing at-risk youth with a positive, structured environment. Through music and dance, children learn discipline, perseverance, and teamwork while building their self-esteem. Besides teaching marching and percussion, we also mentor our members to help them advance their education and always move in the direction of their dreams. So who we are. We're not only a competitive indoor drumline and drill team, but we are a learning center and mentoring organization. We thrive on keeping the arts of dance and music a big part of life in our community, but recognize that to help our youth advance in education and move towards their dream through partnerships, we offer many programs to help children succeed academically in life. For instance, we created this program, again, I'm gonna go back. In 2003, we created this program at the Police Athletic League over on North Side. We were there for a few years, and because of the response, we kind of outgrew that building. In about 2005, we moved to Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club. I miss that place. There, over the years, we had support from Kevin Kelly and a couple other city councilmen, and we grew that program to over 180 members. Of course, Jackson Street was tore down and, done with, so we had to kind of cut some of our programs because no other place could house 180 kids. We continued with the marching arts. We continued with the drumline and the drill team, but we moved to more weekend base. But right now, what we do is we continue to have these programs mainly on the weekends. We practice from Friday night from 7 to 11, Saturday 10 in the morning to 10 at night, and Sunday 9 to 5. We try to keep, I know, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I'm like, oh my God.
But that's for our more competitive program. For our more competitive program, that's what we do. For other programs that we have, we house, we go to the Warner Street Y where a couple of our former members have the program there. It's a YMCA program, but it was started as an offspring of Imperial Dynasty to keep the activity going. So our goal is to try and keep the activity during crime peak hours between 6 and 8 during the week, and then mainly all weekend. So Imperial Dynasty is built on positive, often reconstructed discipline, perseverance, trust, self-esteem, teamwork, motivation, positive attitudes, educational awareness, and personal success. Our vision again came to life in 2003 and have steadily progressed. More children have been removed from the street corners and are using their time in a more positive way in the structured environment that we offer. It really hit me. I walked into the police athletic league one day and I saw an open gym. I saw everybody playing basketball and a slew of girls just sitting on the bleachers watching. And then I realized there was really nothing for them. So that's how we actually started that program. We've been in many parades. We've been like doing a lot of things in the community here and there. But one thing we found is that they really wanted to focus on competition. Still community-based, but they wanted to get out there, out of the city. And my goal was to get a lot of the kids out of the city where any other time they would just be here all the time. So we started competing in different organizations. So we competed in the American Marching Association. We competed in Tournament of Bands and so forth, which gives the kids the opportunity to get out of the city. We'll travel to Pennsylvania, Dayton, Ohio. We'll travel to Baltimore. We'll travel all over to compete against other groups that does this kind of activity. We're currently a competitive drumline associated with the Winter Guard International, which is WGI. WGI is the highest pageantry in the world. There's nothing higher than WGI. We have a competitive drumline that competes in the world-class division. There's no other group in Delaware that competes on this level. And we're kind of, it's weird because if people don't know what this activity is, they really don't know what we do. We're very competitive, but at the same time, we're keeping the kids involved in something that they look forward to year after year after year after year. Students that leave this program often come back and they teach during this program. And then we also mentor the newcoming kids that are coming in. With the drill team, we have competed in Tournament of Bands. The American Marching Association, we had 3 competing squads with 65 active members ranging from ages 15 to 21. We have successfully, in 2003, completed our 20th successful season. So we've been at this for 20 years. We actually started in 2002, became incorporated in 2003. So we've been at this for roughly 20 years. In that time span, we have won many trophies, including 7 national titles, 2 state champions in the AMA circuit and in TIA. We have completed our 4th season by receiving gold and silver medals at the Chapter 9 championships and received a gold, silver, and bronze medal at the all chapter champions in Wildwood. Again, this is the activity that, because some schools have this program, but not many, but because they don't and we do, and we're the only ones that do it, there's not a lot of limelight that gets shown upon what we do. If this was like football, where you see football everywhere, you'll hear more about it. But because this is the activity that we are the only ones that do this, we don't get much time, but the kids are actually putting in a lot of work. My next slide, I do have some videos of some of the things that we do are progressing from when we started in 2003 all the way till now. If you see up above, that's one of our drum lines, our youth drum lines from 2005. Then if you look down more, about 2010, but over is the previous years. That the last one in the right-hand corner is the most competitive drum line, and we just went to Dayton, Ohio for championships on that. So those are videos I guess you can watch them at your leisure. I don't know if you want to watch it now, but it's about a good 7-8 minute show. And then if you look at the next slide, those are all the girls on the different competitions that they have. Again, starting from 2003 all the way up to about 2013. And then we have a color guard and we have other programs as well. My goal is going forward is to have music and the arts year round. 7 days a week. I'm looking now into renting different space. Because I have a lot of programs, a lot of places cannot just house us. We rent out several different spaces for specific programs. My goal is to have one place and house all the arts programs 24/7, 7 days a week. After school, of course. This summer, I'm doing a Summer Mallet Institute where it's an 8-week program, but they're going it's 1 week on, 1 week off. And it's teaching our middle school kids, that age range, how to play mallet instruments, which is something that they definitely don't get the opportunity to learn. A lot of schools don't teach it no more, but it's very desirable when you go to college. So our goal is to get a lot of our youth playing mallet instruments, which will actually, if they want to continue that in high school, it'll make them a lot better, and hopefully they can get into college on scholarships with that. The reason it's not that accessible, I mean, each one of our mallet instruments is about $5,000 for like one instrument. So a lot of support and a lot of fundraising and things like that allowed us to acquire some instruments that we're going to spend the summer trying to teach a lot of the youth how to play these mallet instruments. And it helps because it's kind of similar to a keyboard or other instruments like that. But this right here is very good if they want to continue the musical arts. And that's my information. If anybody wants to contact me. So I have a lot of programs that are going on in the summertime, and I look forward to working with a lot of the youth.
Okay. I thank you so much, Mr. Fletcher, for your presentation. Okay. Councilwoman Gray, you have a
Yes.
question?
Thank you for recognizing me. I have several questions and several statements. One, I had to look it up on my phone. Why don't you explain what mallet instruments are?
Mallet instruments are marimbas, vibraphones, xylophones.
Xylophone, right?
Yeah, those. So they range from, we get the basic marimbas, which are costly, but they can range from a 4-octave all the way up to a 5 or a 6-octave instrument. And they play 'em with mallets, 2 or 4 mallets.
Okay, thank you. I said I had to look it up, so I
Yes.
thought it would be good for the public. The other thing is that, have you looked into the PAL Center on Market Street recently? Because their gym, they renovated their gym and it's huge. You're saying you can't
Yeah,
get
we've
180?
been there. We actually started
I
there.
know, you said you started, but it wasn't large enough now.
Yeah, well, we started there. They couldn't house it, and they couldn't house it because they had other programs too.
Okay.
And the amount of time that we needed, they couldn't accommodate that time.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, so we actually went back to them after the Boys and Girls Club shut down, and we were only allowed to have the weekends, which was a Sunday. So we actually focused a lot of our programs on just that Sunday because they had other programs going on.
So are you back there now on Sundays?
No.
No, okay, well,
No.
try. 'Cause
Yeah.
their gym is huge. They're in the first district, so that's the reason I'm encouraging you to
Oh,
check back
okay.
with them. Mr. Purnell would be someone you would check with.
Okay.
And then the other thing I was going to say, I'm very familiar, you said people aren't familiar with, I'm very familiar with drill lines and marching and everything because my parents were part of the Veterans of Foreign War.
Okay.
And at all of their conventions, they always had competitive lines from each post. So it was
Yes,
a big thing.
with
to go to-
rifles and
Oh, everything. It was,
yes.
but these were all kids. They were all
Right.
kids, and there was very strict and competition. I never joined one of the drill teams, but I'm very familiar with, and it's very enjoyable if no one's seen it, to watch them perform and see these kids play instruments and be able to march, multitask and everything. So, and I applaud you for taking the kids out of state.
yes.
I'm not from Delaware, so I think it's very important for the young people to interact with other cities, other states, see how people live in other places. It adds character and also brings more ideas back to Delaware. So I applaud you for doing that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one
Councilwoman
other
Gray.
question. How are you getting your money?
Pardon.
We do a lot
I'm
of.
sorry.
You're supposed to ask the follow.
Can I ask
Yes,
another
you may,
question?
Councilwoman
Thank you. I'm
Gray.
sorry, procedures here. I'm just wondering, how are you getting your funding?
I do well. I have some support from Yolanda, Councilman Yolanda, but I am a grant writer.
Oh,
So I
okay.
do write some grants.
Okay, well, thank you for getting this information. I will look into supporting you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes.
All right, Councilman Mills.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the presentation very much. My son went to Shaw University on a
Oh.
drumline scholarship, and when he got there, he thought he was going to be playing the drums, and the guy put a mallet in front of him, you know. So it's very important that they get to learn the whole aspect of
Yes.
not just beating the drum, understanding music. My question is, are there any fees for the children, and are they taught to read music as well as just playing music?
No, well, when we were at the Boys and Girls Club and things of that nature, we would try and fundraise as much as possible, so they wouldn't have to pay. Like, we'll have uniforms, they pay for uniforms and their own shoes and things like that. But I've been lucky enough in the past to be able to write a grant to get a lot of equipment and stuff that I don't use, I pass on to some of the, like the YMCA. I donated a bunch of drum pads and drumsticks and things of that nature. We also did a virtual drumline clinic called the Pegasus program that I gave to the Boys and Girls Club, so all their youth could learn virtually. But we try to keep the fees minimum, and it really depends on how much I have to pay for rehearsal space or where I go. It kind of wavers. So, yeah.
As far as being taught music, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Now, did you need to follow? Go ahead, Councilman Mills.
I also asked about teaching the music, to read the music.
Yeah, we do teach them how to read music. We do.
Great.
But it's not it's not necessary that they know how to do it.
Correct.
Our goal is to get them to that level.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
President Conco?
Thank you. What age range of children do you serve?
What age range?
Yes.
Between 6 to 21.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
If no one else had questions, I actually wanted to make certain I made a statement. Mr. Fletcher is actually someone that I met pretty much when I was on the campaign trail the first go around. And when I realized that he was part of the community, I was ecstatic. You know, I had already heard about Imperial Dynasty when I first moved to Hedgeville. And at the time, they were in Jackson Street Boys and Girls Club, and I was trying to get my oldest son there. It was hard to get in contact with them, but they were doing a lot down there. So further down the line, when I ended up running, he still was looking for space. He was having those overlap issues at the PAL, and I tried to squeeze him into Little West End neighborhood. So I'm just like, you know, we tried to really work together, and I'm
Yeah.
just so happy that he was not discouraged, that he has continued, because it's been now 5 years since, you know, we first met, and that he has continued on his path. I know that your program has expanded and shrunk at times, but it's always still been a present and a constant for the young people in the area. So I was more than happy to, you know, to help out when it came to trying to acquire more instruments. So I just wanted to make certain that more people be
Oh, yes,
recruited.
definitely. Yeah, those West End days, like our program is unique. Like, we're not a quiet little, you know, group. We make a lot of noise. And the space was fine, it's just the neighbors wasn't too happy about
Yeah.
the drumming. And
Yeah, Little Italy was not feeling that on,
Really?
on,
They didn't like the
on those
music?
weekend mornings.
Oh, mornings, right.
Yeah.
especially with because of the lack of space that we can get and that's offered to us, our times differ. So we do go a little later because we can't get access to a gym or things like that on a consistent basis anywhere. So,
Well, with our MSK Center actually trying to get themselves together, there might be some type of partnership that can happen between both you and Ms. Lacy. So that would be something great to see. But I just applaud you for, you know, and it's funny, both of my presentations right now come from educators who realized that there was something that was more that needed to happen for our young people in our community. So I applaud you for going the extra mile, not just teaching, but also doing something after hours for our young
and
people.
just like Ms. Lace was mentioned at Parkway, I'm at Pleasantville and Newcastle, and a lot of the kids that go there are actually in these programs, and it's kind of like are kind of the students that have some behavior issues, but this is motivation for them to stay on track. We do check in and check out with them, making sure they're succeeding academically and that they're on task, and this is like a reward for them. So it helps with a lot of their discipline.
Thank you very much. If no one else from the public has questions or our online, our Zoom council members. Okay. All right. Well, that is all. Thank you very much, Mr. Fletcher, for your presentation. Okay. We have We have our next presentation on safe schools and school choice by Ms. Solomon. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. And before you start, Ms. Solomon, if I can just acknowledge that Councilman Johnson is present for this meeting.
Thank you.
Ms. Solomon, I'm sorry, if you can just state your full name, you can begin your presentation.
Thank you. My name is Amy Solomon Gallagher. I use my last names interchangeably, that's why I say them both. But I normally just say Amy Solomon or Amy Gallagher, depending if I'm with my kids or if I'm doing something official. So there we go, but just call me Amy. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present today. I've seen some of you just through attending meetings, either in person or through Zoom. I'm familiar with your name sometimes more than visually, and the reason for that is I've been an education advocate. I would say is the easy way to say it, I guess. Through a volunteer experience I had 2017-18 through a group called Ballard's Reading Buddies. And I did that to support my friend. It was at Stubbs before it changed over to the Early Education Center and the Dual Gen Center. And my friend Louise started it to honor her husband who passed tragically. So I did it really to support her. And over 2 years, I would say. And during that time, I kind of brought, I guess, my assumptions with me from living in Wilmington for a few years. I came here in 2015, and then I started the reading program 17-18. And what I saw in Wilmington was a lot of segregation, a lot of open poverty when I went around. I've lived in a lot of cities all over the world, all over the US, and it being in such a small geographical area, this kind of disparity between certain neighborhoods and the closeness of it was very unique to Wilmington, I would say. I moved here from London in England. I lived there for 8 years before. And so throughout the program, I was checking in with all the partners and reading to a student. And 4 months in, I was asking questions like I didn't think she could read, and then kept reaching out and documenting everything. And then at the end of it is when I discovered the system wasn't working because, at the beginning of second grade in October, she hadn't been assessed. The student could read very small amount of words per minute. So that's why I'm here. That's why 5 years later, every day I work on this. And I just thought it was important to give you that background before I whiz through these slides. I've come to this topic of school choice because I view it as a different angle to come at this problem of the opportunity gap. And I think it's a good one because there's money out there now. Before COVID, everything was real tight, there was a high demand for money to do the community programs. There was more demand than resources being offered, I would say. And then throughout the experience of COVID, was hard, and it's difficult that the money that we have access to now came from such a tragic, pandemic, I would say. But I think this year, now that we're meeting together and we have resources available, we need to seize this opportunity. So school choice presentation, if we can move to the next slide, please. So what we'll discuss today, hopefully, if I get through this, is today's topics. Who is Safe Schools? Safe Schools is my go-to advocate group. I'll talk a little bit about that, the importance of the internet for school choice, the new enrollment system that came out of SB 82, the registration system, the Delaware readiness team, and kind of what's missing from this equation. So the talk will be highlighting the current initiative around SB 82 and connecting the dots between the administrators, the officials, and the foundation behind the bill that leads to the DO registration rollout and those resources, highlighting the choice basics. And the main point of the talk is to pinpoint the lack of resources on quality and equity issues surrounding choice, which I will talk through. So here's the next slide, Safe Schools Delaware. We think the need for community voice is not optional in this work. There can be no real equity achieved without working alongside those who are most impacted. And if we go to the next slide, who we are, it's a group of community advocates led by Shannon Griffin, who works with the ACLU and who you all might be familiar with. We have a core group of about 8 people who show up to a monthly meeting, which is being held right after this meeting at 6:30. It's the second Wednesday of every month, and I've been involved with that. It came out of Network Delaware and Building People Power. Shannon started it, and it really came up out of SROs, and it started meeting just before George Floyd's murder, and kind of through that, and it's evolved, and we've been doing different things, different tactics, and we come to a lot of dead ends a lot of the time, and then we go to the drawing board. And Shannon pointed out that it's not just Newcastle, it's all of Delaware. And then our goal is to organize the power necessary, this is, including the city council, to create racial justice and the racial and socioeconomic segregation of our schools, ensure fair discipline, and eliminate the opportunity gap. Next slide, please. So this is a great quote from Dr. Cora Scott about the registration system, why it's necessary, this new system that they've rolled out and they've spent a lot of time and money on. So having a consistent process throughout Delaware allows the libraries and other agencies to provide quick support and assistance to parents who are registering their children to school for the very first time. Many school systems now have a 1-to-1 ratio of students to devices, and these families are given computers through different programs. The system also works on mobile phones, and they've discovered that a lot of families like having access to the mobile option even if they don't have computer access. So the thing I think you can take from this is that it's internet, it's internet focused, and that's where we're going with this. Next slide, please. So here's the parent bill, SB 82. It's an act to amend Title 14 of the code relating to public school registration. It codifies the DOE's efforts to establish this uniform public registration process, and it requires that beginning with the 23-24 school year, all public schools use this process. It will simplify, these are the goals, simplify the process for families, enable public schools to engage with families and plan in advance of the school year, and integrate the data systems to eliminate duplication of effort. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like. The governor's wife, Tracy Quinlan Carney, did a kickoff campaign for kindergarten registration, and that month is actually the month of November, but she kicks it off at the beginning of October. October is a transitional month, which is confusing because a lot of the websites will have the previous cycle dates up and they haven't been updated yet because it doesn't start till November. And this whole school choice, sorry, talk with my hands. This whole school choice came across into my radar, I guess, because a mom that I had worked with getting a child into preschool, and she wound up at St. Michael's, she came to me and she's like, Amy, they're talking about kindergarten registration, and can you help me find a quality kindergarten, right? And so I started looking at the things, sending her stuff, looking at these websites, and I was severely confused. And what happened to me is I got caught in things not being updated, only little snippets being there, but the DOE only set the new enrollment site live October the 1st, right? And so the planning is a little bit behind and they're quickly catching up. And that's how I reached out to the Delaware Readiness team through John Sheehan's guidance there. But this wasn't, and all that would have all the cross wires would have been saved if this site would have been linked on the Delaware Readiness team website, but it wasn't at the time. It now is, but this is what it looks like. And then there's the embedded links in this entire presentation, so you can go to them. Next slide, please. So the school choice process, you can find this at this URL. It takes you through it. It should be easy and streamlined is the goal. They suggest that you do it online, and that the confusing thing is, yes, you can still register at your local district websites. And that's all supposed to be somehow merged up on the back end. And I've just started this conversation, so I'm not sure how. But, so when you're guiding your constituents after talking to the Delaware Readiness team, perhaps, you can see how that's working. Because again, I was confused when I called into Christina, and they said, oh no, you can't start registering till November online. We're not ready. And, you know, call our public information officer, which I did, and I left a voicemail. But they didn't really tell me that this had gone live. And so, in SB 82, the districts are supposed to go through training, and it's all supposed to be streamlined and seamless, and that is coming. I don't know if it's going to be there in November, or when I was talking to Caitlin Gleason from DOE, an Associate Secretary of Early Ed, she said maybe, I hope it's not, I hope it's sooner than the end of choice. Let's be positive. So it's coming together in real time, and this is another reason I'm bringing it to your attention, so we can know about it, so you can inform your constituents about it, so we can all educate ourselves together. I sadly didn't know the Education Committee was a part of the City Councils, and it was Michelle Harley, when I reached out to her for her feedback on what she thought about choice, that directed me to Councilwoman McCoy and this meeting. And I was so excited to come to present to you and share this information that I was learning in real time, even though, you know, I know different topics. This is something I'm not very familiar with. So, you know, please go to this website and
Ms. Gallagher, I just have one question. So as you're going on and you're giving us a lot of information, I think I just wanted to clarify that this is basically about the school choice and the fact that although Quinlan, the governor's wife, actually is doing the big rollout, this link is not really open or accessible until November?
No.
Okay.
So school choice, you first have to register,
Right.
right? You have to register in your local feeder school. There is this new process now. Everything's new that's available to you. So first of all, you have to know that there's this new registration process available. There's the Delaware Readiness team that is linked up to the rollout of SB 82 and the new enrollment process. You have to be enrolled, which you can do now through that website I just showed you. There is a packet that the readiness team for kindergartners coming in. They have a packet, they have it all ready to go. The DOE hadn't approved it last week, so they were showing it to people at the school night and saying this will be available. I can't give it to you yet because it hasn't been approved, but I think they have 5,000 of those packets available for parents about the enrollment process. And they're going to be distributed to libraries. There's going to be their website I'm going to show you. You can now order it. You can order your packet through the website as well. And it's a shame that the planning didn't allow, you know, at this point for those to, you know, any moment they're going to be released and then be available. But that's a major part of educating the new parents coming into the district registration process for the first time through kindergarten. So it's a stepwise process. You have to be enrolled at your local feeder, and then you can think about choice. And I have those choice dates up. I think it's November 7th through January 11th, but we'll see. And that's for the 23-24 cycle of choice. Next slide, please. Here's the school choice website, and I don't know if you can see it on this, but this is one that is still outdated, you know, as of this morning when I did this. So and then this is what's confusing because there are a lot of resources out there for registration at the district through DOE School Choice, kind of like an older website that people might be familiar with, and then the new enrollment site that's being rolled out. So when this hasn't been updated yet, and I'm just assuming because they're not used to having it until November when choice actually occurs, you still see the date of 2021 And that just kind of boggled my mind because I was like, no, I'm thinking of 23, 24, right? So I think the order of operations is kind of how it was put to me, of how SB 82 is actually being delivered in real time, and they have these ambitious dates for the October 1st, launch of the website, all of these things coinciding to be before choice. The order of operations here hasn't been expanded to include all the sites. So I just wanted to point that out so that you wouldn't experience the same confusion that I did. Next slide, please. So school choice, what is school choice? Now we're getting to school choice because we know how to enroll. We know how to enroll through the new system. We're going to learn who to reach out to and rely to for that information. School choice is a program that allows families living in Delaware to apply to enroll their children to any Delaware public school district, charter school, or vocation tech school, regardless of their home address. With a few exceptions, families must choice students into schools during the school choice application window. And there you have the window, which is, and this is for the 23-24 school year. It starts Monday, November the 7th, 2022, and it goes to January 11th, 2023. So I think a lot of people, a lot of constituents might not know that it starts so early, before their, so many months before the next school year. So that's also good to know. Is it time?
Pardon me, Ms. Gallagher, I'm sorry. Is this for all grades? Yes, school choices for all grades, I'm sorry.
All grades, kindergarten through 12th, yes. And the exceptions that they mention are if there's good cause to do choice throughout the year, you can apply for that. And I think kindergarten can last up to a week prior to the start. So those are the main exceptions, but it's all on the website. Next slide, please. So because of the rollout of the enrollment system, we had a press release that included a lot of nice quotes from our leading officials in the state. I'm not going to read them to you because I'm sorry, I'm running. But the one that I love is John Carney saying there's nothing more important than ensuring all Delawareans can read at grade level by 3rd grade, right? And I love the governor saying that because I want to hold him accountable for it. And then he kind of thanks the people who have been helping him. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gallagher, President Conco, question?
Yes, thank you. This is a really good presentation. Why do you think that mark is 3rd grade and not sooner? If you're able to answer.
So the stat that scares everyone is if you can't read at grade level by 4th grade, that you have a 90% chance of living in poverty, and you're 14 times more likely to go to prison. And past the 4th grade, you're already supposed to, you're not learning to read, you're reading to learn, is the saying, right? So when a child, and Common Core is actually, if you look at proficiency in 3rd and 4th grade, it's really high. You're supposed to read fluently, have really great comprehension, be able to start writing paragraphs probably. I'm not an educator. I have access to a load of people who know way more than me. Right. And part of this is me sharing those names and resources with you of really authentic advocates that will want to work with you on this. So that it's kind of just a marker of when, if they're not proficient beyond that, you start to have behavioral problems, additional problems that develop and that don't need to. But really, I'm talking about school choice in kindergarten. It starts at birth to 3. It starts with pre-K. As the sooner you can start, the better. Right. And I don't know really if we're holding teachers accountable because the kids get passed through not knowing their ABCs, not being able to read easily pretty much through kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, and then it becomes a problem, like, whoa, what's happening here? And now the 3rd grade teacher is probably being handed a kid that they might be, doing very remedial stuff, not
Right.
because of the kid's fault, not because of their fault, and then that teacher is being held accountable, like, oh, you better get this child reading this year. And that's a bad situation to be in
Yeah.
when you have 26 kids in your class with 15 different IEPs.
Right, that,
You
that,
know.
that was my concern, like,
Yeah.
it seemed like third
Sorry.
grade is almost already too late. It seemed like that
Well, that's his
marker should
goal,
be- yeah.
right? So my kids are both, they learn differently. They're kind of considered twice exceptional. They have things like ADHD and nonverbal learning disorder, and their processing speed is slow. So and that's why I know a little bit more about the reading process, but not being an educator. But they, it took them, it was like a slow burn from pre-K, through now my child's 7 and he really is starting to get it. My 10-year-old can read at a high school level. And he was what I would, slightly behind for 3 or 4 years when he was younger. So there is a point where if you're consistent and repetitive and you use the science of reading and you use different techniques, even a child, because trauma can mimic neural differences. And 20% of children learn differently, probably more than that, but a confirmed 20% of children learn differently. And we're not even catching those kids in special ed, right? We're not thinking about that. So there's a lot of different layers of problems, but I think school choice and taking these statements is a way that we can start to hold people accountable and then work back from there.
Okay.
Thank
You know, if that makes sense, because it's hard to get at this problem because it's so multi-layered and there's so many different efforts and people trying to do it, and our outcomes just aren't getting there quick enough. And I want to light a fire under people, and let's get the resources in the right place. Let's do the right things. Let's be thoughtful, and Caitlin told me that purposeful. Caitlin Gleason says she really wanted to be purposeful and that she doesn't like the word strategic.
Okay. Ms. Ellen, Councilman Johnson has a question. Statement.
Probably anyone probably on this council committee right now, I probably don't know the most about this field. I truthfully, I don't work in the field. I have educators in my family, but it's just something for me, like just learning. And I guess my question as always is whether I'm looking at economic reform or criminal justice reform or whatever, I look at the tangible, outcomes, like the why. Why should city council care, and why should city council support this? Because, in Delaware, even prior to Markell administration, we've had this initiative, we've had that initiative, we've had neighborhood school, we had the Lewis Reading Consortium, we had so many different ways of looking at education, and we still have not gotten it right. So I guess my thing is, how can we help on council in propelling this forward, but then getting the additional resources that we need in our communities? Because for me, I feel like, okay, school choice is great, but if somebody's still coming in a failing home, they have no hot water, they have, peeling, paint, they have, broken windows, that child is not going to be able to succeed. So is there a project that complements and works with this project to get resources in the community itself, not just the school?
There are loads of things that complement it. I think your best resource would be Helen Anderson from the Dual Generation Center, who I did invite to join me tonight. She's been a very, when I come to present something like this to the city council, I talk to I spend many hours talking to advocates who don't have the time to come in person. And I listen to them, and that's my strategy. And that's, why I highlighted that with Safe Schools. We work with people in order to be impactful. It's not kind of what I think. It's like I'm asking experts. So I would speak with Helen. She came to the work through an experience with her own child, and she completely changed her life and started doing the work. She's been the director. I think the center maybe launched 3 years ago through the MOU of understanding that kind of came online when I was starting to go to Christina board meetings. And the scary thing that I just learned when I attended a Wilmington Learning Collaborative meeting, she's just starting to get budget 3 years later. Just starting to get integrated into the DHSS protocols. And that's because Daniel Walker is now working, who I think you guys know since he worked with you. And he's wonderful. And Daniel is the one that's making that difference, and he's going to change it.
And,
Yes, Father.
and I was like, again, I'm not jaded or anything. I'm just trying to.
Do you want me to
I-
give you the action plan?
I don't, yeah, no, and I appreciate it, because I think what you said is helpful. The Dual Generation Center, Ms. Anderson, we can schedule tangible follow-up, hopefully have her here, because I want to know how we can help in council, is there's money we can help support. I just want to, a path forward,
Yes,
because
I want your money, as we can get to that now.
well, no, and
I have
I'm
a
just
good
big
way to
ask
spend
person
your money
because
to be
I've seen
impactful.
so many different plans.
Yeah.
And, for me, again, it's frustrating.
Yes.
And I'm sort of frustrating to all of us. We've seen so many different plans and pilots, and no real change ever happened. It hasn't happened.
Yeah,
in
you've seen
decades
60
in
years of
Delaware.
advocacy, and Ms. Coker says it's worse now than she's ever seen it. That's what you see.
Yes.
Well, I would like to add something to that. So the thing is, the reason why we've actually invited Ms. Solomon Gallagher is because she has noted that there would be some confusion. We weren't actually going to go down this rabbit hole about, exactly what was going on when it comes to the schools and how we were actually approaching, making certain that our children were at reading level at third grade. It's just the registration was actually just the key part, getting them into school had become such a confusing portion.
Well, it's new. It's
Yes.
new, and I wanted to
So
highlight because
she wanted
you
to
might
make
not
certain
know.
that we were aware, because school choice is actually something I even did a 2-minute drill on last year, because I wanted to make certain that parents were aware that there is a tool that they can use if they were not satisfied with the school within their district, their feeder pattern. So if you wouldn't mind, can
Yeah, well, we'll
finish
talk
this up?
about the
Yes.
money
Yeah,
that I'm
okay.
going to get later.
Okay. Because we do actually have 2 pieces of legislation we need to.
Yeah, sorry. So this, Ms. Carney is saying, First Lady Carney is saying that, she had a bad experience 25 years ago. It was really confusing back then. So now she had the opportunity for this universal online system that's been a long time coming. And 25 years is not, is about the time that it takes to do something in Delaware sometimes. Sometimes it takes 10, sometimes it takes 1. It depends on your topic. So this is another reason I want to bring it to your attention, because when we actually do get something new, there's a lot of effort from loads of advocates and loads of people. I spoke to Senator Lackman before she came here, and she's the primary sponsor on the bill. And she said the reason she did the bill was there was this late advocate, Diane Frensel, who just blew her away, and she's like, I got to do something, and she really spoke to her, and she got it done. So one advocate made this experience more streamlined and inspired that. And so I really appreciate the hard work of advocates, like constant, continuous work, right? Next slide, please. I'll try to whiz through these. You have other stuff. This is Mark Holodick, who we should also bring before you. He's newer. Susan Bunting is who I was familiar with, and he's just started in the past year or so. He's saying, registering your child can be overwhelming. And that's what I heard from all the moms that I spoke to again and again. It's an overwhelming process because of especially during COVID, people were trying to get all the doctors and the immunizations and the records, and you couldn't get an appointment, right? And it was very frustrating. So now it's a little bit better, but it is overwhelming at the best of times. And so that's, again, the streamlined enrollment system, one-stop shop is supposed to help that. But if your constituents don't have access to the internet and the mobile, or they don't know how to use it, could still be very frustrating, because if they go to their school thinking, this is how I should do it, then it might not be documented in the most ideal way. He's excited about the site, and he hopes that it removes barriers such as transportation, which is weird because when you go to school choice, and if you choice into a school, you have to do your own transportation. So maybe that's something, since he's concerned about transportation here, maybe we can talk about school choice and making that better. Next slide, please. So this is Diane. She's the one who really got SB 82 going. And her goalpost, and I took this out of a different article than the press release from the governor's office. There's very few steps to register, and it shouldn't take more than 30 minutes of a parent's time. So if you're hearing something different, then maybe we need to give feedback. And this is the person you can give feedback to. You have a person. Next slide, please.
Before we move forward, Councilman Harley, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It was a while ago when Council Member Johnson was talking about, what is the act from us? I thought, he was spot on because one, we have the PowerPoint presentation, which I'm sure we can go over. But one of my main reasons for asking her to connect with you was to be able to get the message out to more council members. We now have it taped, so it can also be distributed to larger audiences as well. But I guess I'm just trying to make sure that we are aligned with the experts or the people that are the champions for this versus us, I heard Councilmember Johnson mention money, but I think we need to fully understand more about all of this, understand where this whole topic stands in the education world, because as we know, the state has all the money for education, and, our few dollars that we have, we got to spend it wisely. So I just wanted to make my point in terms of us understanding where we are with this process. Of course, I think it's awesome. The information is, it was, really eye-opening to me. And I think we need to advocate for it, but in a way where we need to fully understand the process, where it is, and how we best can support it based on, where the experts are with it and connecting with the experts. But I do see this as part one of possibly other folks coming in to share more information about it. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Ms. Gallagher, you wanted to finish up the school choice?
Sure. Do you want me to continue? I know that I'm over time.
Okay.
I can come back and present.
Well,
You can have.
yeah, I think
I
we
mean,
were
there's
just
a
pretty
lot,
much
we
quotes.
can,
But I just wanted to make certain that
getting
we
towards the end of it.
understood. Yeah, I just wanted to make certain that you allowed those who are watching to understand why you were here and why you felt it was so needed that they would get this information now before there was any more conflicting information when it came to the registration of their children. Because I thought that was actually very important.
Right. So you can enroll now, right, into your local feeder school. The reason that's important is because that's the first step. If you are happy with your local feeder, wonderful. Get to know them. You can still schedule a school tour and get to know them prior to attending. If that causes you questioning, there are other options available, and the DOE report card is a great tool to know what the proficiency levels are, at your school. It gives you class size and some information. I'm working with the data team at Red Clay right now, and I have an upcoming meeting that I'd like to invite some lucky board member to get a deep dive into the data. To go into how many choice applications, the whole process, specifically going to be focusing on kindergarten for that first meeting. So it's important to enroll, it's important to know how, it's important to know the best way. They're saying the best way is this website, because then the data's there correctly and it's documented, and then everyone will have access to it in this integration process that's happening. It's best to do it online, because then you get an email confirmation and then you're just sure that you're there. So then when it comes to school choice, you can do that. So here, Madeline Byard from Rodell is the one that structured the readiness team with Diane, and are helping in partnership with the DOE and the governor's office, and I guess the local districts are involved to do, deliver the enrollment system. If you go to the next slide, please. This website is one you need to know. One of the great things to navigate, there's a virtual kindergarten academy that you can sign up for now, and it starts in November. And then this is the site that you can enroll to get your kindergarten packets. In the middle of the site, there's something called Current Initiatives. If you click on that and go to the kindergarten campaign, that page is wonderful. It's chock full of good information and resources And you can spend a lot of time there. And to the right of there, there's a PDF that you can download that has all the districts, the schools and the numbers, and it's just full of resources here.
All right, pardon me, Councilwoman Darby, you have a question? Councilwoman Darby? I guess not. Okay. Okay. All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Gallagher, you can please continue.
Sure, there's only a few more slides. Next slide, please. So what's missing from SB 82 and choice initiatives? And kind of through digging through this info, the focus on quality, and this is kind of, I think, what you were getting at, President Congo, that when you choice into a school that's a top-rated school, that is, everyone wants to go there. It's gonna get waitlisted because of the way that choice works. You're not guaranteed the schools, and you're allowed to pick 3. You're never guaranteed to choice in. So if you have an ideal school, it might take you 3 or 4 years to be lucky enough to attend that school. I delivered a poll to a social media moms group of 17,000. We got a couple hundred responses and a lot of comments back. And one of the people who commented had said that it took 3 or 4 years to 2nd grade to get to the school they want, and then they did. And then once you're in, you have that place. So the choice landscape looks kind of like an hourglass. Choice is normally works for people when you come in at kindergarten. You normally can get one of your 3 choices. It kind of bottlenecks at middle school because those places are normally taken, and then expands again for high school, which is interesting to know. So the Delaware readiness teams have to stay neutral on quality, and this is things like giving, and I am gonna do a quality guide, and I got some questions from Helen Anderson on if you do a school tour. Let's say, the suggestion from the DA, go on a school tour, what questions are you supposed to ask to know the quality indicators? Well, I want to provide those to you so we can highlight those and you can provide those to your constituents. Because asking the right questions will give you a good feel for, is this the right choice for my child? But this initiative really is kind of missing those quality guidance, I think, from the get-go, and we need to include that. And the fact is, the top-rated schools are often the ones with the most experienced teachers and smaller class sizes, not necessarily, but then you look at your local feeder and you're like, I don't have access to those kind of resources. I think we really do need to put those resources into the local feeders, right? That's where I'm getting with this. So the readiness team program manager was saying that she kind of had to stay neutral on quality because it's not specified in the initiative. That kind of confused Senator Lockman. And Senator Lockman said she would love to discuss this and how the issue of quality is something that she's kind of grappled with the entire time of advocating, organizing advocates in the city, and she finds it very interesting. She doesn't think there's a universal approach to quality, and that's why, because everyone uses the word equity. Equity, the Reading Consortium's definition of equity, educational equity requires safe, secure, and student-focused learning environments where every student is intentionally provided access to the support, resources, and opportunities they need to reach their full academic and social potential in and out of the classroom. So I think Senator Lockman is correct that quality is going to be different for different groups, different people, different locations, geographies, and our Neighborhood Act has our local schools the top priority. But we still have to tackle it, and we have to tackle it using this definition of educational equity and getting the kids what they need. Next slide, please. And then what's missing from choice in real time, we really together need to explore equity of our current system, the choice system. That's my meeting with the data team is kind of starting that. And that's with Christine Bewley is the Red Clay Choice Manager, and she works with Dr. Ted Amon, who's an assistant superintendent. I think he does operations with the tech team. We need to identify what the challenges are and establish data-driven action plan. Is that's me putting that in there. But and then the next slide, please. And then here is a short but useful list of expert resources, and I have a lot more than this. But these are people, you know, Shannon, Helen, Christine Bewley, who I just mentioned, Diane, Caitlin Gleason, Don Alexander. And then I don't know if you've interacted at all with First State Educate, but that is a bigger initiative. It's kind of a very connected people. They have a staff there, and they can get you information. And she's, you know, it's, Shannon doesn't get paid at Safe Schools. I don't, you know, we're doing it with our volunteer time, and it's useful to have people who are available and would love to help. And that's where the money ask comes in, because I really think that this education committee really needs to hire a consultant to help you, educate you, and find your voice on your values. And then based on that, that's what you should base your action plan on. Your voices, your values, your constituency, thoughtful, purposeful action. And I think paying advocates is a really great thing to do, because I cannot sustain this. I turned all of this around in about a week. But it affects my family. It really has a big impact on my life. And when I show up to these meetings, 95% of the participants say that wellness and mental health is their number one goal.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Gallagher, for the presentation. Councilwoman Gray?
Thank you. I just have one question. You talked about the bottleneck. How are kids selected for the choice? If you have 100 names for a particular school, how are the students selected?
I think it's slightly different in every district. The one I looked more at was Red Clay. They do have, I don't know if they've posted it yet, but October 25th at 6 p.m., they do have an informational session, and Christine said that will be procedural, so I can get that information to you. I know October 12th is that tonight. Christina had an informational session on choice too, so these will be popping up, and each district will do it slightly differently. Red Clay has a prioritization ranking, bless you, of 6 different categories, and up at the, so you have to do the prioritization ranking before you get to the lottery system. So my feeder is North Star, and it's the top rated elementary schools kind of in all of Delaware sometimes. It probably gets filled just by the top 2 categories of current students and their siblings. And then 3 and 4 are a little hazy. I think 3, I don't remember. 4 is just in district, maybe. I know number 6 is out of district. So even 1 through 5, they split it up within the district. So I was talking to, I think Councilwoman Shanae Darby about her experience in choice, and she said that, you know, when she initially started, she put North Star as her top, and she didn't get that. And that was in district for her, for example. So they go through those rankings, and then if there are any spots left, then you get into the lottery. So I think having real-time transparent data maybe about your chances, because it's odds, right? It's like playing the lottery, that's what they call it. But I don't want to dissuade people from, you know, applying for their first choice though, you know? So it's, my idea, which I proposed to Christine Bewley, and maybe I'll talk at that meeting, is, and maybe someone else has a better idea, but, and this, I would love to action this for the 23-24 cycle, and that's another reason I wanted to come today, even though I'm not super knowledgeable yet. Can we, for these top-rated schools, say, hey, can we have 30 spots where we can guarantee places for people in the bottom 3 categories, 4 through 6, and at least we know these spots will be distributed among these applicants, and they could perhaps through a computerized educational equity formula. Because, for example, North Star has 2% Black student population, has very low and small low income, small special needs. So there are district-wide average of 21% for Red Clay, for example, for Black students. Can that formula then bring the different categories up to the district norm through those 30 spots, and then also reflect the ratio of the total applicants to each other?
Okay. Can I follow up just, I think it would, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think it would be great if they just had a uniform system across all the schools, rather than each school having their own criteria.
I think most of them have a prioritization.
But is it the same all the way through all the schools? Or each
I
school
mean,
has different prioritization?
I don't think anything in Delaware is uniform when it comes to schools, and let's redistrict it and make it 3, districts instead of 19.
And I'm sorry, and that was the reason why Ms. Solomon Gallagher was here, because we finally got into registration where kindergarten is gonna now look more uniform.
Across all the schools that you.
Right.
Yes, yep.
Right, but it should be a pretty, it might have little variance, but it's basically the same for all of choice. Now, when you get, up to high school, let's say, and with the charter schools, those choice applications require interviews, recommendation letters. Sometimes you have to do testing depending on which charter, so as you go up, the choice that you choose might have special criteria on top of that, and you have to investigate that. So I think it would be hard to make it uniform, but yeah, choices could be an illusion for a lot of people if they feel like they want to choose out of district, especially. That's harder. And then transportation is not included. You have to get your child there sometimes. Some districts say if we have space on a bus, we'll put you in that bus, but if we don't, you have to get to the school. And then most of them say you need to get to the closest bus stop within our district to you, and then we'll take you from there.
I have Councilman Mills, he has a question as well.
Well, more of a statement, but thank you, Ms. Ellen. I appreciate the information. I am new to the Education and Youth and Families Committee, and I welcome the information very much. And it is my goal to get some of the superintendents, and definitely Dr. Mark, and Helen Anderson is actually my little sister, so I'm sure I would get her here to.
Are you Rep. Chikotua's brother?
I'm the twin brother, yes.
You're the twin brother, yeah.
I'm the twin brother. So that is my goal, to get them here, but I am definitely interested in attending the meeting that you mentioned in reference to getting the data, so, yes.
Yes, I love your sister.
I as well.
She's excellent work.
Okay, so.
And I would like to say my presentation was done by Tristan Sapphire, and she does have a company that I would like. She was such a great help to me, and she turned this around, and she was working at 1 a.m. in the morning. I don't have the PowerPoint skills to do it. TSAF Invites, which I think you can find. So thank you, Tristan.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Darby, I see your hand is up. Did you have a question?
No, I just want to thank Amy for coming tonight to give this presentation to clear up some information about school choice. I am a parent that has been through school choice, and navigating through it can be challenging and difficult, and actually disappointing and frustrating when you want your children to go to a quality school and you don't get selected. However, the universal thing, I don't know if I agree with that all school choice should be universal, because specifically for, like, example, First State Montessori, they give preference to people who live in a 5-mile radius. North Star doesn't do that, right? So I am in support of how First State does it, and I was able to get my children into a school choice because of that criteria. So I'm more along the lines of schools do it very differently even on the elementary end side, not just the high school side, and it looks different for each school, even within a school district. So yeah. But thank you, Amy, for presenting, and hopefully this is helpful to our community and for people to have resources to doing school choice to get their kids into schools that they feel like will fit for their children.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Darby. I just wanted to state before we walked off, Ms. Gallagher, that when you presented and gave us information about Red Clay, I do understand because I think I know at least 3 off the top of my head magnet schools that are basically based on choice, which would be like, Cab Calloway, Conrad, and what was that, like Wilmington or whatever that is. So, and that was the reason why I ended up having to get a little bit more educated on those things, especially for Red Clay, because even though I'm in Christina, I'm very close to their feeder. And a lot of my constituents wanted to find more information about how to get their kids there. So I do agree with Councilwoman Darby about how we look at choice and how choice is. I had to do it as well. I ended up not having to bother with choice after that and just started paying tuition after when I hit first grade. But I do recommend this as a tool for those parents who feel as though their feeder pattern actually is not the quality of education that they would like for their child to have. And so I do thank you very much for coming and presenting and giving us this information.
Yes, I know it's a lot of information and it is website heavy. Please go to the PowerPoints. Those embedded links should work. I've tested them. I hope they do. If they don't, I'm going to be following up. Now that you know me and I know you, you'll experience some emails. And I can come back next month if you want, and I'll have this school choice guide done, and it'll be more focused and targeted. But when I went in, it was such a thing to unravel, and I really wanted you guys to have all the information up front. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we actually are done our presentations. We have 2 pieces of legislation that are on the agenda. The very first piece of legislation I have from Councilman Johnson, it is a resolution approving the Department of Parks and Recs grant applications of the state of Delaware, Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Controls.
All right, thank you very much, Chairwoman. This is a resolution authorizing City Parks Department to apply and receive the DNREC application, and it will be a 1/3 city matching grant. We do have, I believe, Parks Director Ian Smith on the line who will shed some more light about the project, but essentially this project is, again, focusing on improving our city parks. This specifically is Judy Johnson Park, a very historic park and very an important part of the West Side, and so we're looking forward to receiving this grant. Is there anyone from Parks Department here?
Yes. Councilman, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
All right. I'd like to, first of all, acknowledge Council President Congo, Chairperson McCoy, Vice Chair Gray, and the other council persons present. Unfortunately, Deputy Director was unable to stay on with us, but want to just acknowledge her and just really appreciate her bringing Wings to Vision. So this project here, this grant is going to support with a few things. As Councilman Johnson mentioned, the legacy of Judy Johnson. First of all, let's say that there are 2 other projects that will support 2 other projects, which are playground restoration and or improvements and the water feature being redone. But the other vision is eventually redoing that baseball field. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but last year we started a T-ball league under the name of the Judy Johnson T-ball league. And eventually we'd like to grow that throughout the city. And obviously the baseball field and park that holds his name is one of those areas we'd love to be holding baseball. And so we're thankful for the opportunity to receive this grant. And also want to acknowledge Lenny Sofrin, who works diligently with supporting with vision and making these things happen. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Smith. Was there any questions from my colleagues? I'm sorry, Councilman Johnson.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairwoman. And I know we weren't sure yet, but do we know the exact amount that we hope to receive from DNRAC?
Yes, it's supposed to be 50,000 with a possible max at 100. We believe it will be 50,000.
Okay. Thank you.
And Councilman Johnson, thank you for sponsoring this.
So are there any other comments or questions about this grant? All right. If we have none, and you did basically ask the only question that I had on here, whether or not it's going to be 50 or 100. If there aren't any, this resolution, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to get my attention. If there aren't any, this is a resolution. It does not need to be, yes. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Councilwoman Harley, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My only question is this money going just towards that particular park, or the funds going to be used in any other park?
No, these dollars are earmarked for this park.
Okay, thank you, Director Smith. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Was there any other questions that we had for this resolution? Okay. All right. Seeing that there aren't any, and because this is a resolution that does not need to be voted out of council, looks like this resolution will, I'm hearing background noise. So when will this resolution actually go on to our council, on the council floor? It's October 20th? Okay, just want to make certain. So it looks like we will have we will go to the council floor on October 20th, where we will have a full vote.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so thank you very much, Councilman Johnson. I do have one more piece of legislation. We have a resolution from Councilwoman Darby. This is a resolution for City of Wilmington, calls for the cancellation of student loans to the U.S. Congress. Councilwoman Darby, are you here to speak on this resolution?
Yes, I am here to speak on this resolution. Thank you. So this resolution, I had constituents reached out to me to draft a piece of legislation urging and in support of debt forgiveness for student loan services. The ultimate goal will be to cancel student loan debt altogether, but we are in support of the current student loan forgiveness that is happening up to $20,000. So we probably should get someone to come in here and talk about that and give more information to our constituents on how they should do that process. However, this specific legislation is about forgiving student loans altogether. A lot of people, young people, are impacted here in the city of Wilmington with a mostly impact on low-income families, first-generation college students, veterans, parents, and caregivers, etc. There's a racial equity piece to it where Black and brown people are more likely to borrow student loans and least likely to be able to pay it down. So this resolution is basically just saying, give us some relief. Our student loans should not be a burden on us, and actually education should be a public good. It should not cost $30,000, $40,000 to go to college and then you end up in debt and not able to pursue different things that require credit checks or require you to have funds to do it because you have to pay off your student loan. So this is just urging our federal, Delaware federal legislators to support debt forgiveness. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Darby. Councilman Johnson.
I would like to be added as co-sponsor. This is a very important piece, and thank you very much, Councilwoman Darby, for bringing this to the attention. And you know, one thing I always focus on is just the data. When you look at the data behind it, that I don't know what the percentage is, but the percentage of individuals who have the majority of student debt haven't even graduated or went to a for-profit college and only attended for a few years. So it's very it takes advantage of communities of color, especially, and you know, it really is a shame. As in most developed countries, secondary education is free. So America's the only country where it's not. So yeah, I certainly applaud the effort, and people complain about this issue, but again, nobody complained when there was a PPP loans given to businesses and large and small businesses, and nobody complained about loan forgiveness then. So I think this is something that's been, should have happened a long time ago, and as much as we can do from the city council end, we need to advocate for loan forgiveness for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Councilwoman Harley, did you have a question or a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so yeah, of course, I think that this is a very, very, very important topic. As we all know, when the federal government, when the president first mentioned this, you know, everyone got all excited. Of course, I sent my daughters an email making sure that they know about it because they have student debt. But my question is this to the sponsor: have you spoken to anyone on the federal level about this topic? This is to the
Darby?
sponsor.
Yeah, Councilwoman Darby, did you have a
Yeah,
response?
sorry, I was unmuting.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Which delegate? Because I would like to be supportive and having a conversation as well. But since it's your legislation, I wanted to, you know, start with having this conversation here.
Yes, I've been having conversations with Senator Carper's office. I haven't spoken directly to him, but to people in his office. So.
Okay. Yeah. And the reason why I'm asking that question is because, you know, we all know the resolutions is awareness, but more importantly, we want action. And so, you know, the resolutions that we're doing are great, but I, you know, connecting and really having, you know, a connection and conversation to them going some places really, I think should be our goal as well. Awareness, to me, the resolution is awareness. Taking action is connecting with the people that can actually take it and run with it and really, you know, make something happen. So, so there's just been a conversation. You haven't really spoken to any of the federal delegates. Is what I got from it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Was there anyone else had questions about this resolution? Okay. And there's no one from the public that needed to speak on it either? All right. So I just wanted to make certain that you that it was noted that Councilman Johnson does want to be added as a co-sponsor. And because this is a resolution, it does not need to be voted out of committee. And I don't have a date on this one. Is this going to be October 20th as well? Okay. So this will be going to the full floor on October 20th also. So thank you very much, Councilman Darby, for keeping all of us struggling people who are in debt and paying our school loans off still. I thank you very much, and I'm quite certain that there are others who are thanking you as well. We'll see whether or not this actually really receives some traction when it comes to the federal level. I just wanted to make certain that you know that we appreciate it. So there aren't any other pieces.
Yes, council member, because I know you can't see my hand.
Okay.
Yes, my last comment is this, is that I really think as a council body, we need to encourage our constituents to call the delegates that really can vote on these pieces of legislation and do something. You know, coming to us is great, but we're not the ones that, you know, can really move the needle. So when people call me or when my constituents reach out to me, of course I listen to them, but I urge them to call the state. If it's something where they are the decision makers and they are the ones that actually vote on that particular legislation, I encourage them to call, because the senators are these individuals, the same constituents that are our constituents are their constituents too. And so, you know, a lot of times the community don't know what they don't know. So I'm just encouraging all of us, you know, yes, you know, we can do our part, but let's encourage our constituents to reach out to their other elected officials as well, because their voice is just as powerful or even more powerful than our voices when it comes to the areas and the topics that belong at the different levels of government. Let's encourage our constituents to blow up Carper's phone, to blow up Lisa's phone, and to blow up Coon's phone. I think we should encourage them to call them as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Councilman Darby. Yeah, Councilman Johnson had his hand up.
And to piggyback off that, I just want to just really inform the public that advocacy does work. Because I remember I was on MLK, there was a billboard imploring the federal delegation to cancel student loans. And we just had last month, the Biden administration did announce a partial student loan forgiveness for only federal loans. So I think, what the message is about there needs to be a more expansive act by Congress, besides what Biden did, which he stepped up and did. There needs to be a wider expansion to even, I guess it'd be non-private private loans and other loans that weren't captured in the first one. But there was some movement, but not nearly enough.
Okay, I thank you very much, Councilman Johnson. Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you. I wanted to also reiterate what Councilwoman just discussed about contacting your state and federal representatives. I've always encouraged my constituents to do that if it's a state or federal issue. But even with our resolutions, check with your representatives, because I had my senator ask me about a resolution that was sent down, and either she missed it, she didn't read it, she didn't remember it, but she asked me what happened to it. So I resent it to her. So sometimes with all the mail they get, just like council members get a lot of email, follow up and make sure that they got the resolution, they read the resolution, and the same thing with contacting the federal constituents, our federal representatives. Follow up with a written contact and follow up with a phone contact and make sure they received it and they read it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Gray. Were there any other comments or questions regarding this resolution? Okay, I don't see any hands, so I'm assuming that, I can't see it on the screen, assuming that there aren't. Okay, as I stated before, this is a resolution. It does not need to be voted out. It will go to the full floor on October 20th. So with that being stated, if there aren't any other questions, I would like to be able to adjourn this meeting. Could I have a motion
Second.
to adjourn?
Oh, so moved.
Second.
It has moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I said, meeting adjourned. I thank you very much for joining us this evening. Hopefully we'll see you in November. You have a great night.